Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Tacho Show. I am your host Tacho, of course, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. So this is actually a topic that I've wanted to do a video on for a very long time, which is actually discussing the FEH Tubers that we all know and love. Now, this Reddit post was made 2 years ago asking people what their favorite FEH Tubers were, but this has been something that's been discussed for a long time, and to break it down by favorite, I think, is a little bit more of a pick and choose sort of thing. It's like, what are you really into? Like, what are you looking for in YouTube content? That's mainly which FEH Tuber you're probably going to ride with. So it would be difficult to, like, actually say who is number one or anything like that, but I wanted to highlight a couple of the FEH Tubers that I think have had some sort of impact on the actual community in one way or another. And me being a FEH player since day one, I feel like I'm certified enough. I'm someone who's seen his fair share of FEH content. I know which FEH Tubers were around, which ones were killing it back in the day, and which ones are killing it right now. So let's go ahead and start things off. And this is one of the reasons why I also wanted to do this video now, is because out of nowhere, Akariss just came out with a new free-to-play account, I think, and then he's been kicking content again. He went on a crazy hiatus. Look at this. So, hold on, where is it? Like, the last video that he had made before he came out, when was that? Okay, so 2 years ago, and then he came back, and then he's been kicking content ever since a month ago, and he's been playing with this new free-to-play account that he's got. So, a very interesting development. Obviously, if you're aware, Akariss is like one of the... how do I put this? Like, one of the more talented players from a competitive aspect. That's how he markets himself as well. He's like one of the best players in the world who's free-to-play, mind you. Like, that's the very key note there. He's free-to-play, so about as good of a player as you can get without spending any money. And I was not expecting him to come back out of nowhere, but you can't really deny the impact that he's had in the game. Just take a look at some of his most viewed content, and I think he had a sit-down with PM1 right over here. Yeah, he did. So he had a podcast video with himself and PM1, one of the only times anyone's ever had a sit-down with PM1. So, very awesome. It would be impossible nowadays to do that. I guess since we're talking about him right now, we might as well just transition over. What happened? Where is PM1? Like, what happened to him? He came back, so he had a back injury, and he was on a really long hiatus, and then he recovered from his back injury, and he came back, and he was kicking content again, and then out of nowhere, just recently, he vanished again. Does anyone know if he's okay? I mean, I actually have no idea what's going on with PM1 right now, because I know that, I think at least that he recovered from his surgery, but I don't know. There's been no updates. Usually he'll even make community posts about what's going on, but he hasn't even done that recently. So I actually don't know. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments down below, but it would be impossible to do a video talking about FEH Tubers and not discussing the GOAT himself, PM1. None of the other FEH Tubers have even close to the amount of subs or view count that this guy does. So look at the 7.1 million views. But, okay, this is a little bit of a different kind of video. Not exactly Fire Emblem Heroes, just Azura dancing in HD. Which, I guess, I can understand why people wanted to watch that. But where is, like, his most viewed Fire Emblem Heroes video? Now, obviously, PM1 kicks a lot of content, like a lot of different types of content. So it's not just FEH tubing with him. Okay, we may have to scroll a little bit more than I'm interested in at the moment. But you guys already know. If you're familiar with FEH Tubers, you already know PM1. You already know he's the GOAT. Okay, so let's head on over now to Glitter Valkyrie. So one of my favorite ones to watch. I actually unsubscribed. I've been subscribed to all of these guys at one point or another. But to clean up space in my feed, I've been unsubscribing from a lot of channels, and a couple of the FEH Tubers are some that I unsubscribe from. Not anything personal or anything like that, but I really don't consume Fae content right now. Like, if I head on YouTube and I want to watch something, it's usually just an animal video or a basketball video or something like that. I ain't really interested in watching Fae content right now. That wasn't always the case, but yeah, it is what it is. So I was very disappointed when Glitter didn't come back to do the summon video for the Arcane Larachel that came out, which I thought would have been right up her alley. If you guys couldn't already tell, that's her favorite character. She's also a nurse in real life, which I find to be ironic. So it's like she's the real-life Glitter Valkyrie, or she's the real-life Larachel, which is pretty fun. So yeah, Glitter was always one of my favorites to watch, just always holding it down with the summoning content. Like, just if you want chill, relaxing, soothing summoning content to watch, just like no stress, just watch someone summon and have fun. Glitter was always one of the top ones for that. Okay, we have Speedy Hawk, who has been most known, at least in the FEH community, for the rival bromains, if we can find any. I mean, Speedy kicks a lot of content. He live streams a lot of different games. So, yeah, we may have to scroll a lot, like a lot of doom scrolling, before we actually find some of the rival bromains, because it's been a long time since Speedy has actually done them. But, I mean, I feel like we should be able to find them. Also, Speedy and Glitter, you can't really mention one without the other. That's why I wanted to talk about them both together. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to find one of the rival bromain videos, but you guys get the picture. Speedy has had a huge impact in the community, mainly bringing us all together, specifically the FEH Tubers, because the rival bromains is one of those types of content where we all just get together and have fun, or had fun, back when rival bromains was a big deal. So shout-outs to Speedy, of course. Okay, we got Rocket Gal, another big influential FEH Tuber. Mainly, people know her nowadays for the matchup videos, which obviously are very good, but Rocket Gal does a lot of different content too. She does summons, she does unboxings, which are actually my favorite, because it's more genuine. It's not really fake content like Fire Emblem Heroes, it's just general Fire Emblem merch content, which is cool. And she actually did a video about the emblem rings from Japan. I think they were from a gacha machine, like one of those real gacha machines, if you guys know what that is. A gacha machine it's kind of like one of those machines where you put a quarter in, you twist the thing, and then a little prize comes out. And they have different rarities. Like, Japan is very big on gacha machines, which is why gacha games are essentially that in video game format. But they had the emblem rings as a gacha in real life in Japan, and I figured out about that from actually Rocket Gal doing a unboxing video on that. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, Rocket Gal just overall very chill, very fun FEH Tuber. Not really kicking as much content anymore as back in the day, but she did mention that it was very stressful having to do all of these all the time. So no hard feelings at all. Definitely, if you're not feeling doing content about something, just don't do it. You're not obligated to do anything. The community should be lucky we even get a video out of you, you know? So, shout out to Rocket Gal. Okay, next up we've got Dire Thunder. So, this is more old school. We've got a little bit of an old school row coming up. So, only the OGs are going to know these guys. Dire Thunder... One thing I can say about Dire Thunder is that he hit the scene like a lightning bolt. Because I remember when he first started his channel, his videos were just like pulling in crazy numbers of views. Like 20K, 11K, 5K, 21K. These were views that he was getting when he had like no subscribers at all. So it was a pretty big deal when he hit the scene and he was just like killing it with all these guide contents and guide videos. So, yeah, very, very good FEH Tuber for the time, and also made a lot of digestible and easy to understand content. Like, look at this. Power creep in 3.5 minutes, or 3 minutes and 52 seconds. I can't talk about power creep in that amount of time. It would take me like half an hour. So, yeah, obviously, shout outs to Dire Thunder. If those of you who know, you know. Okay, here's a real blast from the past. So Nat, aka N Styler, one of my favorites from back in the day, and I can't talk about FEH-tubing without talking about Grand Hero Battle content. There's plenty of people who do them. Grand Hero Battle content was actually originally the primary form of content for Fire Emblem Heroes because that's what people wanted to see. They wanted to see clears back when the game was actually quote-unquote balanced, when people wanted to see how to beat the Grand Hero Battle maps with their free-to-play units or their non-5-star gacha units. Like, as we see here, we've got 2 GHB units. We got Michaelis, Camus, and then or Camus, however you want to say his name. And we got Olivia and freaking Reese, of all people. So, yeah, I mean, Nat was one of the progenitors of pulling crazy numbers of views on the GHB content, and her videos were just very easy to digest and very fun. She was a very nice host. So, if you know, you know, but I wonder how many people actually remember N Styler, or even the GHB content era of FEH-tubing. So, just a nice blast from the past there. Alright, we got Sacred Spear, who still is kicking content. Now, he has branched off. He does other stuff, too. He does, like, ZZZ. He does Genshin and so on. But what really put him on the map was doing FEH content and FEH guides and breakdowns and so on and so forth. And the fact that he is still doing it. 19 hours ago, he put this video out. I had to give a shout out to the boy. Like, I could not make a FEH-tube video without talking about him. For a very long time, he actually was like number 2 or number 3 most popular FEH-tuber. So, anyone who can get that high up the leaderboards of FEH-tubing, so to speak, is definitely worth a mention for sure. And I gotta admit, you guys know, like, anyone who's been doing FEH content for as long as someone like Sacred Spear, you know it's not an easy thing to keep up with. And it gets very hard to not burn yourself out over the years. And somehow or another, Sacred Spear has managed not to burn himself out. So, utmost respect. I gotta give a shout out to the boy. I've never been able to get in contact with him either. I don't think he's on, like, Discord or anything, which, like, he's one of the people that I actually wanted to reach out and talk to for a long time, and I never got the chance. So, yeah, there we go. Shout out to Sacred Spear. And then the last FEH-tuber from trip down memory lane here, Brotel. Now, if you guys remember, prior to the release of Dragalia Lost, Brotel was like our Fehology back in the day. He was like the FEH-tuber who was making content that everyone wanted to watch, but he wasn't PM1, which is basically what Joel is at the moment. So, pretty awesome. You'll see a lot of other types of content, like Dragalia Lost. Obviously, Dragalia Lost went defunct, which is no fault of Brotel's because he was doing his very best to keep the game alive. But Brotel actually got his channel started with crazy FEH content. And look, his most viewed video is actually a free-to-play Infernal clear of Legendary Robin's map. Look at this. Legendary Ike. We got the Brave Lynn there, and then we got Olivia and Lissa. Doesn't get more free-to-play than that, guys. So, yeah, if you know, you know. But Brotel was definitely one of the OGs of the FEH game. All right, we talked about PM1 already. So, we have Zashado. Now, I would liken FEH-tubing into 3 different eras. So, of course, Era 1 till a very long time in, I would say, was definitely dominated by PM1. No one was really on the same level as PM1. And then Zashado hit the scene and kind of changed everything, mainly because of the way that he gears his content. It's not really geared towards people who play FEH necessarily, although people who play FEH can still definitely enjoy the content. But also, the thing about Zashado is that he's found a way to garner attention from the people that don't even care about FEH. Like, the people who just trash on the game all day long, myself included. And everyone who maybe has played FEH at one point and then stopped because of either power creep or not liking a lot of decisions that Insys has been making, which is completely understandable. So Zashado is able to keep up the views with people that don't even play Fae anymore. Like, maybe they did, but now they don't. So, content like this is obviously very good and very fun, very entertaining. Zashado's a very funny guy. So, yeah, I would say at some point in the mix, like when PM1 started releasing less and less content, Zashado came in and filled the gap. And then he became, for a little moment there, or a longer than a little moment, for a good while there, Zashado, I would say, was the second, or at least the number one FEH-tuber, while PM1 was kind of sitting on the back burner a little. So yeah, shoutouts to Zashado. Now we got Fehology. What is there to really say? I think currently, I mean, this may be a little bit of a hot take. Maybe not even a hot take. I think most people probably would agree with this. I think right now, Joel is actually the GOAT when it comes to FEH-tubing. So, like I said, we had Era 1 with PM1. We had Era 2 with Zashado being number 1. And right now we're in Era 3. I think Joel is currently the GOAT. Because he's kicking all of the content that PM1 would normally do. Like, you've got the breakdowns for units. You get tier lists here and there. You get the Hall of Forms, which is like one of the most viewed type of content in the game. Because people just want to know how to build those freebies up. Not necessarily freebies, but, you know, the Form of Souls and the Forging Bond Souls units. People want to know how to build those guys. So that's where Joel comes in. Also, Joel is just... Yeah, look at this. This is exactly how I would put it. This is a clean, family-friendly show. That is something to be admired, man. I can't do that. I am not family-friendly at all. So to be able to kick content like that, that's entertaining, fun, has packed with information that people want to know, and it's still, like, rated E for everyone, there's something to be said about that. So, shout-outs to Joel, of course, just killing it with the content. And let's go ahead and move on to the final three that I wanted to talk about. I can't really talk about one without talking about all three, because they are basically like the three musketeers. So, we have Oblivion, we got DTM, and then we got Satachi. Shout-out to the homies. Anytime you hop on a live stream for any of them, the other two are always there. So that's why I call them the three musketeers, but they're just like keeping the content going, man. They're keeping the content train alive. They all cover Fate from a meta perspective, which, as we've talked about before, isn't always the easiest thing to do. Like, Zashado has managed to find a niche where he can garner attention from people that don't play Fae. And then these three are just keeping it tried and true. Like, just clean content actually about the game. Oblivion will summon, and then he'll just go ahead and test the unit. Usually spot on with the information that he provides, unlike a certain FEH-tuber who everyone watching this video may be aware of. So, yeah, I mean, just complete shout-outs to the homies. I actually wish they would branch out a little bit more, and instead of just always live streaming together, I would like to see some more solo content from them, particularly like DTM and Satachi, because Oblivion definitely does, but he's very busy. He doesn't have the time to do as much solo content as he used to. But I feel like DTM and Satachi should branch out a little bit more. DTM mainly sticks to like SD and Aether Raids videos, but I would like to see him tackle some other stuff, as is with Satachi. I feel like they could give some insight, some fun content that's a little bit more off the cuff, you know? So, yeah, just a little trip down memory lane. I wanted to talk about some of these FEH-tubers who are still kicking it, and then FEH-tubers who were once kicking it, but gone but not forgotten, right? So, let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. How long have you been playing Fae, and how long have you been watching Fae content? And let me know some of the FEH-tubers in the comment section down below that you are rocking with, because obviously there's way too many to cover in one video. I barely even scratched the surface, but I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that I remember from back in the day that were like always super consistent and super on top of their game. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. and I will catch y'all again on the flip side.